French Army's wine rations and mutiny madness. The French Army took an approach to soldier morale that would make modern military planners question their sanity. French troops received up to 0.75 liters of wine daily by the war's end, starting from an initial quarter-liter ration. This wasn't table wine either. The military-issued wine often reached alcohol levels of 12 to 15%, meaning French soldiers were consuming more alcohol daily than most people drink in a week. The reasoning was simple. Drunk soldiers complained less about dying in trenches. The practice became so essential to French military operations that wine supply lines received the same priority as ammunition shipments. French military doctrine became obsessed with aggressive tactics to an almost religious degree. The Army's cult of the offensive mentality emphasized direct assaults and bayonet charges, even in the face of modern weaponry. This belief in the decisive power of close combat led to specialized training programs that treated hand-to-hand fighting with scientific precision. Soldiers spent months mastering techniques they would use for perhaps 30 seconds in actual combat if they survived long enough to engage in close fighting. French punishment methods reached levels of psychological cruelty that bordered on torture. Commanders dealing with mutinous soldiers would force them to dig their own graves in elaborate detail, complete with proper dimensions and headstone placement. The condemned men would spend hours or even days preparing their burial sites before mock executions that stopped just short of actual firing. Guards would load rifles with blanks, march prisoners to freshly dug graves, and go through complete execution procedures before revealing the deception. Some soldiers endured this process multiple times as punishment for repeat offenses. The psychological impact often proved more devastating than actual punishment, with many men preferring real execution to repeated mock deaths. French experiments with armored vehicles produced disasters that sound like engineering comedy sketches. Military designers created armored cars so heavy they sank into mud within minutes of deployment. These vehicles weighed over 4 tons but had narrow wheels designed for city streets, not battlefield terrain. During field tests, the machines became stuck before traveling 100 meters. Crews tried pulling these contraptions out with teams of horses, but the cars were so heavy that multiple horses died from exhaustion. Some armored cars required 20 men to push them across flat ground, making them slower than walking infantry. Engineers kept adding more armor to protect crews, making the vehicles even heavier and more useless. Trench art became a French military obsession that defied all logic about battlefield priorities. Soldiers created elaborate sculptures from spent shell casings while battles raged around them. French troops carved intricate designs into artillery shells, fashioned decorative items from bullet casings, and built furniture from weapons debris. Some men spent entire days creating art pieces instead of maintaining equipment or preparing defenses. Units competed to create the most elaborate sculptures, with soldiers trading food rations for artistic materials. Officers initially tried to stop this practice, but discovered that artistic soldiers had better morale and lower desertion rates. Eventually, the military officially encouraged trench art, providing tools and materials for creative projects. Some trenches resembled art galleries more than military positions, with carved sculptures lining walkways and decorated shells displayed like museum pieces. French commanders desperate for any advantage turned to fortune tellers and mediums for military planning guidance. General headquarters employed professional psychics to predict enemy movements and choose attack timing. These consultants charged substantial fees for reading tarot cards, interpreting crystal balls, and conducting seances with dead generals. Some major offensives were planned around astrological charts and supernatural visions rather than intelligence reports. Military meetings included psychics alongside tactical experts, with mediums given equal voice in strategic decisions. One famous fortune teller convinced French command to attack during a solar eclipse, claiming celestial alignment would guarantee victory. The resulting battle was a complete disaster, but commanders continued consulting psychics throughout the war. French supply logistics included provisions that would scandalize modern military operations. Mobile brothels followed French units to front lines with official military support and protection. These establishments operated under military supervision, with medical officers conducting regular health inspections and commanders setting operating schedules. The brothels traveled in converted trucks and established operations near headquarters positions. Military police provided security and regulated access, treating brothel visits like any other military service. Supply lines included contraceptives, perfumes, and cosmetics alongside ammunition and food. Medical Corps allocated significant resources to treating diseases contracted in these establishments, creating a bizarre healthcare specialty within military medicine. The French military chose uniform colors based on psychological theory rather than practical camouflage considerations. Designers selected horizon blue because color experts claimed it looked optimistic and would boost soldier morale. The reasoning was that cheerful-looking troops would fight more aggressively and inspire civilian confidence. Unfortunately, horizon blue stood out dramatically against most battlefield backgrounds, making French soldiers perfect targets for enemy snipers. The color was especially visible against brown mud, green vegetation, and gray concrete, essentially highlighting French positions for German gunners. Military studies showed that horizon blue uniforms increased casualty rates by an estimated 15% compared to more neutral colors. Yet French command refused to change uniform colors because they believed appearance affected fighting spirit more than survival rates. French military discipline statistics reveal the Army's brutal approach to maintaining order. France executed 918 soldiers for desertion, the highest rate among major armies during the war. French courts-martial operated with minimal legal protection for accused soldiers, often conducting trials that lasted less than an hour. Many executions were carried out within days of alleged offenses, with no appeal process or legal representation. The high execution rate reflected French command's belief that harsh punishment would prevent widespread mutiny, but it actually increased resentment and contributed to the massive French army mutinies of 1917 that nearly collapsed the entire military effort.